Alrighty, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 versus 1 bot AI cast. We have got ourselves what should be a good one here today, as in the bottom right, it is Sharkbot. And taking on Sharkbot is a very good Zerg, Caninana. So we've got two very late game focused bots here, which means we could be set up for an epic match here on Pylon. It is a Zerg versus Protoss, but more importantly, a bot versus bot match. These bot games usually look a little unique. Sometimes we get games that are very human looking, but that can always change in just a moment's notice if a bot decides to do something wacky. And so yeah, ladies and gentlemen, before we get too far into this video, make sure to go ahead, click that like button. If we can get 100 likes for Caninana and Sharkbot, that would be amazing. These are two phenomenal bots. Leave a comment down below saying more bots. If you want to see more bot matches, let me know which bots you want to see. And yeah, subscribe if you haven't already. And then if you do wish to support bot content, consider becoming a YouTube member. It goes a long way into spending the time making special projects, if I do any. And yes, let's see here, as we've got Sharkbot moving around with a very early probe scout. Caninana doesn't go for a super early scout. It just opens blindly with a early spawning pool and then relies on the Overlord scout, which is generally pretty effective. It's now seeing that there's a Nexus up, so it can probably assume that there's going to be no crazy cheese from Sharkbot. Sharkbot may actually lose this Zergling, or this probe here, to a Zergling, which would be unfortunate, as that probe's running, and the Ling actually gives on up. Those of you that don't know, Zerglings are just ever so slightly quicker than workers in StarCraft 2 before they have speed. And that means that workers can kind of be chased by a Ling or two for a long time, and then just it takes forever to kill them. And now, as far as this game goes, we have got a Stargate on the way for Sharkbot, an Adept on the way behind this, but no low ground wall off from the Protoss. So playing it quite risky against a conventional Zerg. Caninana isn't a bot that gets aggressive with Lings too often. But yeah, Sharkbot is wide open here. So if Caninana did elect to go for a more aggressive build, it could be quite difficult for Sharkbot to hold off. But for now, the Protoss is scouting out with an Adept, seeing nothing too crazy. And then there is a Phoenix on the way for Sharkbot. The Phoenix should be able to hunt down Overlords. And as far as the unit is concerned, it really shouldn't go down in this game, so we'll pay close attention to that. Unlike this Adept, which is probably going to die to a few Zerglings. That's quite unfortunate for Sharkbot. Yeah, 2 Lings for an Adept, not a good trade for the Protoss, but this Phoenix, as I was saying, it should just be able to be out on the map basically all game, scouting, getting information, hunting Overlords, that kind of thing. And against a bot like Caninana, which does enjoy having Overseer scouts out on the map, that could be very powerful. Because really, a Phoenix, I imagine it's something that's, unless you're using them to try and like commit for drones or go for fights, it should be a straightforward unit. They're so quick, they have a good amount of HP, and so I think this Phoenix should be able to stay alive a while and do its job. It's currently just scouting out for Overlords. Interesting path here. We see it's kind of just doing the entire northern section of the map as it just sort of searches and searches and searches. Unfortunately, it will not find an Overlord early on. Meanwhile, Sharkbot has thrown away another Adept. So not a lot of efficiency here from the Protoss so far, but there is potential as more and more Adepts are being created. We're getting +1 attack, but no other air units. I'm wondering whether we'll get like a fleet beacon or something at some point. Sharkbot's still just searching literally half the map with this Phoenix. This is quite funny the way that it's going about this. And unfortunately not finding any overlords. Behind this, though, Sharkbot doesn't have to panic as much, or it doesn't have to worry about being behind in the economy as much as Caninana is a bot, which does cut a lot of workers in the early game to ensure it gets to that strong late game. Now, as we take a look, Sharkbot did say, did you just open a Zergling factory or what? So upon seeing the units of Caninana, maybe the lack of drones, something like that, Sharkbot was a little worried and just went for 3 batteries. That's a reasonable approach if you don't want to deal with the nightmare that is trying to have your bot operate a wall. Building batteries when scouting danger is definitely an option. However, this does mean that the 3rd Nexus is later than it could have been. I mean, no batteries, that Nexus would have been up already. A scouting Ling gets lifted up by the Phoenix, funnily enough, and it will be dropped into a bunch of Adepts pretty soon. I think the Oracle also revealed that, which is a little bit comical. Speaking of the Oracle, it's just been chilling back at home, but I'm excited to see if Sharkbot will potentially use energy recharge on that at some point so it can get more energy if it needs to kill things. It's a very powerful tool defensively, and Sharkbot will need everything because right now it doesn't have much that's very good against roaches. We are getting more Phoenix on the way for the Protoss bot, a Twilight Council too. Sharkbot is a bot that likes to get all the tech. There's Resonating Glaive, so we are getting Glaive Adept Phoenix against Caninana, and this is a composition which we don't see too often in bot games. I guess -0 plays with these units, but Sharkbot is going hard into the tech. It's doing exactly what you need to do. Double Stargate, getting Glaives, already got +1 on the Phoenix. Phoenix are killing off a couple of Zerglings as the Protoss just postures defensively. The Zerg is thinking about getting aggressive here, and the Phoenix are not very good in this situation. We do get a lift from Sharkbot lifting a Roach, but its friends aren't there to help out, so the Roach kind of just hangs out. And then we're also getting Revelation dropped by Sharkbot to keep eyes on this, but that Oracle has got basically no energy. It will be very important to see whether energy recharge gets utilized or not. There it is. As soon as the Nexus finishes, that gets dropped, which is nice. A Stasis Ward gets thrown on up. Adepts are still out on the map shading around. Phoenix find an Overseer, but Caninana decides to go for it. A Stasis Ward catches a good number of Zerglings, but there's just not enough anti-roach here for the Protoss, so Sharkbot's in quite a bit of trouble. Phoenix are slow killing roaches. There's not enough energy. The Adepts go down quite easily. And yeah, Sharkbot could take a lot of damage here. There is an Adept getting healed by a battery there. Caninana's army pathing all over the place, a little unsure of what to do, maybe how to handle these air units or something like that. But for now, it looks like Caninana makes a big mistake by not taking this any further. Adepts with the batteries can tank quite a bit of damage. Phoenix doing some work. Yes, but Caninana definitely seems a little unsure of how to handle these Phoenix. The roaches aren't going on in, so that's a bit unfortunate because I think it really could have got a lot of good value there. We do have tunneling claws for the roaches so they can burrow and retreat. Meanwhile, the Phoenix still flying around trying to get whatever value they can, lifting up the odd roach here. We're even getting anion pulse crystals for Sharkbot, which is not very helpful when we look at the fact that Caninana doesn't have any air units itself yet. I guess technically it does mean if one Phoenix lifts a unit, the other Phoenix can start shooting at it a little bit sooner. But the effects of that upgrade, I think, will be pretty minimal. Sharkbot, meanwhile, trying to secure up a 4th base. There's this Adept parked here. It nicely moves out of the way so that can go up. But uh-oh, there is a Zergling burrowed by that 4th base. So Sharkbot will need some detection to clean that up. Caninana's Overseers are being shut down very hard by these Phoenix. 5 of them have died already. So that is the power of going for these Phoenix against a bot like Caninana. So far, Caninana afraid to attack on in. It doesn't have the anti-air that it needs, and it's afraid to commit in. I do wonder how this calculation works for the Zerg, because I feel like Caninana would normally attack in if there's just like one Phoenix or one Oracle or something. So I think it must be treating these Phoenix or just the oracles is something that it should not attack into. It's probably going to wait till it has anti-air. This is Sharkbot getting kind of lucky in that regard. We do have an attempt at the Nexus. The oracle does have energy for a revelation, but it's not utilizing it, so no fourth for Sharkbot just yet. It just used the pulsar beam, but I'm not sure why that triggered, but no revelation on the oracle to reveal this Zergling burrowed under the ground. That's just so painful for Sharkbot. An oracle's dropping revelation on these roaches here, a phoenix still lifting up a single ling. Caninana is finally getting out some anti-air, just in the form of infestors, but that will be very important as Sharkbot is teching up. It's getting into carriers now. Still, though, no fourth. That's really painful. The creep for the Zerg, by the way, we can see that Sharkbot has no observer in this game because it is suffering hard from a lack of creep cleanup, probably due to the fact that it's mostly just had Adepts and Phoenix, which aren't good at cleaning that up most of the game. Caninana is getting a little aggressive with these roaches once more, but really we're just in a situation where the map is totally covered in creep. Sharkbot is turtle tossing it right now. Caninana has got the map literally creep touching the natural wall of Sharkbot. Then there's creep to the north, creep to the west. And if creep hits this base before Sharkbot takes it, that will be incredibly painful. The Protoss bot is on a timer here, make no mistake. And I'm just wondering, where the heck is the observer? There's an observer moving around. It's just chilling, keeping eyes on some of these units. There is some Adepts and Zealots inside the main, but they're not really doing too much. Sharkbot isn't pulling things together too well in this game. It's getting up to a very scary composition, but the lack of a base, the lack of dealing with this little bit of harassment is incredibly painful right now. Some of those units are repositioning. I think I just heard an assimilation successful as a Phoenix actually gets grabbed. It's now shooting an Oracle. Honestly, not the worst thing for the Protoss to get neural parasited because Caninana doesn't have anything else to really kill the Phoenix in the skies. The big ticket items will be things like the carriers. The Adept is still chilling here, but this is definitely a bit of an unfortunate bug. The fact that the Oracle was there, that it used a pulsar beam instead of a revelation, is unfortunate for Sharkbot. It's got an observer out, but that is not pathing towards the fourth. And yeah, this is just not great. Maybe an area that Sharkbot could use some improvement in. If we do look at another Protoss bot, -0 is usually a little bit quicker at cleaning up these bases. Sharkbot's got the tools, but it's just not happening right now. And Caninana is reaping the rewards of that. Look at this map. There is 185 creep tumors on the map. Caninana's actually getting aggressive. I'm not sure it's got the anti-air it needs to handle this as it neural parasites not 3 but 4 Phoenix as the Phoenix then go to work shooting at each other. There's also Corruptors out for the Zerg, but I mean, Sharkbot's probably happy as long as those are the units getting neural parasited and not the main army. Sharkbot's now having to long distance mine, but it's not cleaned up the creep or the burrowed Zergling. This Zergling is worth its weight in gold for Caninana. And yeah, just big struggles here for Sharkbot. A bot that's playing pretty well defensively, but will eventually run out of resources. Good stasis ward, revelations being dropped on those high value infestors to reveal them. But Sharkbot just is in a world of trouble, I think, because it's running out of stuff. Like, this one Adept is parked here, but it's not doing its job. There is only 4 mineral patches left in the main and the natural base, so the third's the only mining base left for Sharkbot. That'll last a while, and then we're getting probes harassed here, so Sharkbot may be able to reach a 200 supply, but I think it's gonna have to like move out and win the game pretty much right after that, because it is not gonna have a good time. Caninana, a bot that's more than happy to turtle, is maxed out. It's building a nice bank. It is getting some pickoffs, and as long as it trades out okay, it will beat Sharkbot here. Lings and Roaches trying to go in. That's not going to work out against the mass Psystorm of Sharkbot. We know that those High Templar like hanging out in the Prism for the Protoss bot. The Prism can drop those High Templar in a tick, storm, pick them back up pretty much right away. Now, that's something Sharkbot does very well here. Oracles, though, do keep suiciding in for Sharkbot. That one barely stays alive. The Protoss is dropping Revelation. It's moving out. It's not even cleaning up a bit of creep. Where's the Observer? The Observer, it's got to be in this. It's in this mess somewhere. And the death balls are just very difficult to see where individual units are. Sharkbot's moving out, though. Caninana saying, yeah, I'll take that fight. Neurals of Void Ray. The Protoss has to fall back and just is not in a good position right now. Sharkbot's getting 2-1 for the ground army, which is it's nice that Sharkbot keeps those units mixed in here, not relying entirely on air. It's already got +3 attack for those air units. Caninana, though, it is getting up flyer attack, and it is just on 1 Spire. I would love to see a second Spire from Caninana. That's something that both Caninana and Eris don't do, is get a second Spire. The bank is definitely here for it, though, for the Zerg, so I'd be a big fan of that. The Protoss is just holding on right now. Sharkbot 172 supply. We'll see if it can even hit maxed out in this game. And just, it's so unfortunate. The Adept is here to clean up this base, but honestly, it is showing that Sharkbot needs a little bit of work in this regard. It's not something that the best bots struggle with too much, at least in situations like this. And so I think that would be a good area of focus for the bot author. There is the 1 observer, but not a second one being made. If by some miracle Sharkbot's army just pathed to the left for some reason, it would be in a fine spot cleaning up that creep, but it's not happening. So I think the Protoss will probably just sit here until it's maxed out, if it's ever maxed out, which is debatable at this point. The main is out of minerals. The natural is just about out of minerals. There's some long distance mining going on. Sharkbot at 172 supply and hurting. Abduct going down on a carrier, but there's no units on deck to back that up. We can see my game starting to lag actually a little bit here. Sharkbot is one of the bots out there that actually has the highest APM out of all the bots. It's routinely cruising absurdly high. And the Starcraft 2 engine handles over 100,000 APM pretty darn well, but even that does start to hurt a little bit. There is a nice defensive posture here for Sharkbot batteries. Psystorms going down. It's losing a few units. Very good Psystorms driving these Hydras back, but Caninana is not losing that much stuff, actually, and will be able to just come on in once more. Meanwhile, Sharkbot still not getting up a new base. It's a bit of a wither on the vine situation, I think. Psystorm going down, but so does a Stalker. Sharkbot, I mean, it's got a very, very beefy Protoss army. Now would be the time where I think you'd pretty much just F2A move across the map. Oracle's pathing into danger is not ideal. Seems that their desire to use Revelation overrides their desire for safety, which in some situations I imagine is good, but in this situation is definitely not. For those of you that don't know, with Revelation, it's generally possible to at least tag some of the units and keep the Oracle alive in StarCraft 2. You're, of course, not going to get, like, the whole lot, but that would be something to recognize in your programming. Sharkbot is starting to wither here. I think that third base is just about mined out. It's losing probes that are trying to long-distance mine. And, yeah, a bit of an unfortunate one here, as Sharkbot just never gets another base and is just chilling. I'm curious if it will attack once it's totally out of money, like whether it has some sort of late game plan. But a Neural goes down, a Fungal goes down. Caninana will shut down Sharkbot in this game. I don't think there's much of a chance that the Protoss loses this at all. The playstyle of Sharkbot is fine. Like, I think if the Protoss does get up a fourth, it's massively important. And I do generally try to avoid casting games like this at this point, but hopefully that is something Sharkbot does resolve, because this game would have been totally different had it killed that Ling, had it pushed the creep tumors back. Is there even a Ling in here anymore? No, the Ling did get killed at some point, but the creep was the next problem. Caninana still just whittling Sharkbot down. It can't replace units as quickly as it's losing them, but Caninana can. Sharkbot even trading worse than Caninana at this point, which is not a great sign. Losing ground units that path too far forward, away from the safety, away from the safe space. Honestly, I think Sharkbot could have benefited from a few more air units in this situation, a few more Tempests, few more carriers. Immortals are always good, but maybe fewer Stalkers, fewer Adepts. It's lost a great number of those. And then it's also lost 10 Oracles, which is painful. More Neurals going down. Immortals blinding clouded, but then are still able to kill off a cannon. As Caninana moves in, it grabs yet another Oracle. Sharkbot is just against the ropes and struggling. A lot of long-distance mining is going on here. But, yeah, I do hope we see an improvement from Sharkbot to handle this at some point. It's not an easy thing to do, and not a fun thing, I imagine, to program, but I think sectioning off units, using the Oracle, using an extra observer to scout bases would be doable in this situation. And so, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoy seeing all kinds of bot games, click that like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel and leave a comment down below. Yeah, that is pretty much it for this one here. Do check out the interview I did with LaughNgamez. That's actually part of the reason why I'm casting a Sharkbot game today. It is that I had the pleasure of interviewing LaughNgamez, who has done a lot of things right programming his bot. Sharkbot is a very formidable late-game Protoss bot. Just this is a rather poor showcase, and maybe I haven't pointed out all the things it's doing right well enough, like the Prism Micro, as we're seeing right now. Although it does get parasitic bombed, not much you can do about that when the batteries are out of juice. Caninana will break this location. And yeah, if you want to see a rematch between these two, maybe on a different map, then this, let me know in the comments down below. And yeah, I think this is something that Sharkbot could do with having tweaked. I don't think this is the first game I've ever cast of it struggling to take like a 4th or a 5th base due to creep or due to Zerglings. But yeah, that's I think I've beat that horse to death. Now would be a good time for me to say join my Discord, as there may be some live stream announcements, tournament announcements, that kind of thing coming up in the future. So I recommend you guys use that link in the description down below. If you want to try your hand at programming your bot and maybe get your replays cast here on the channel, just join AI Arena or go to aiarena.net. There's a link to the community Discord there. Not my Discord, the Discord that's filled with a lot of very smart programmers working on their bots. Not that some of them aren't in my Discord too, but that's the place you want to go if you want to work on a bot potentially and get help with it. All right, that is that. What unit is left? The one observer. The failure observer just died, was the last unit left. That's a little bit poetic. And yeah, just well done by Caninana. A bot that hasn't received an update on the ladder in quite a while, but still plays incredibly solid. And the creep spread itself in this game just was a very big component of its victory. GG.